Hello, this is Timothy Phelps. Epic Talk. Today, we're going to talk a little more on the car ride of life, and we're going to talk about making changes along the way. Talking about those paths that we change path versus change. I want to thank everybody first for joining me here today on Epic Talk. Again, my name is Timothy Phelps. Today, we're talking about the plan path on your ride of life and talking about change.
Driven with ambition, ready to elevate yourself. Then Timothy Phelps can help. It's time to get clearer. You can't drive into the future looking through that rearview mirror.
All right. Sorry, I had to get me a drink there. So, when I start thinking about a car ride of life and talking about change, I get thinking about, a time a few years back, and well, it's been quite a few years now. It's amazing how time flies on you. But anyways, I used to be real big into computers. I started studying computers when I was 11 years old. And it was the first thing that really I felt like I was good at. And as I always, talked to one of my friends, and we always had this big dream that we was going to have our own computer business, and we was going to run a computer business when we got older. We was going to go to college for that. And the funny thing is, both of us did, and both of us, both of us had computer places. We actually was in business for a while together, then kind of went on our own in a sense. And I get thinking about that, and as the years progressed, and I got older, I realized something very quickly. I hated working on computers. I hated it. I loved having my store, feeling like I was good at something. And I loved the fact that I made pretty decent money. But I hated it. And the more I did it, the more I hated it. But I was so afraid at that time in my life to quit, to stop doing the computer work and to move on to something else, to find out what I'm passionate about and strive for that, because I'm so afraid of the what ifs. What if I shut this down and I can't find something else I'm good at, or anything else? There were so many things that went through my head, and I stayed in computers working on them for way longer than I ever should have. I went to college for it, did great, but even at the time I was going to college, I hated it. I hated what I was doing. But I knew I did not want to go through life hating what I do. So finally, I was able to move past that into something that I did enjoy and start following my passions and stuff. But that fear of change took control of my life for so long. And, if you're thinking about going on a car ride, let's say you're going on a trip and you're following your GPS, and your GPS starts taking you through these neighborhoods that you're a little bit sketchy about. Like, I don't know if I want to go through here or not. Don't be afraid to find another course. Take another route. If you're driving, somewhere, and all of a sudden the road gets real bumpy and you feel like you're on a massage chair, don't be afraid to take a different route. It also reminds me of a time. If you're in my local area, you probably remember whenever the Cumberland Parkway moved. They moved the ending of it, and so there's a part when you're going down the old Cumberland Parkway that you cross there where 914 is now, and there's a dead end. You cross, there's just a barrier there. You can't go nowhere else. And I get thinking about a time shortly after they did that there was a car that was sitting down there with the brake lights on, and I kind of wondered, did they not realize and hit the barrier or something? So I went down through there. They was like panicking in fear because they didn't know where to go, because their GPS told them to go that way, and then turning around and trying to different, frozen. And honestly, we do that so much in our lives. I mean, think about how many people that you know, and some of these things that I mentioned could be you. And if so, really take this into consideration. But if not, just think of how many people you do know that do these things. They have that fear of change. Maybe they're in a toxic relationship, but they're so scared to leave that toxic relationship because what if they don't find anybody else? Or what if they die alone? I used to be in that toxic relationship, and I was so afraid of leaving because I struggled at times still yet to believe in myself. So I thought, man, this is as good as it gets. It definitely wasn't, but that's okay. I finally got out of it, and but that's just one of the things. How about other people that we may know that are in what would they consider a dead-end job? They hate their job. They hate going to work. They come home, they're miserable because of their job every single day, yet they don't do anything about it. They don't leave that job. They don't find something else that they truly enjoy, or at least that they enjoy more, or at least that they have passion for, something that they're excited to do that day. Like they wake up excited because they're passionate about what they do. Instead, they wake up dreading, and they come home aggravated because of the day they've had at work. But they stay because it's so easy to focus on the negative what ifs. It's so easy to worry about the negative things that could happen. It's so easy to sit back in our little bubble, our safe comfort zone. Just to stay there where it's safe. Throughout our lives, our parents will oftentimes teach us to do it that way because it doesn't matter what you do, things are going to be negative. A lot of people have that mindset, and they basically embed that within our heads. So we become afraid to step out and do something different, even if we're miserable. Life is too short. Life is too short to live your life miserable. If you're miserable in your, why find something you're passionate about? And it may not even be something as dramatic as these things. Maybe it's just something like stopping partying too much because you're afraid that your friends won't be friends with you anymore. But you want to make a change in your life, so you're thinking of stopping partying so much and actually, doing things with your life. But you're afraid because you don't want to lose those friends. I've been there too. Maybe you're I'm trying to think of some different examples here. Maybe you've always wanted to try something new, but you don't do it. Maybe cooking or something along those lines. But you don't do it because you're afraid that you're going to be a failure at it and that people are going to judge you. There's so many different stages, different types of fear of change. But when we're traveling along our car ride of life, we have to be willing to go off course sometimes from the planned course of action. If we're driving and the road ahead of us and the road that we're currently on is not what we want, it makes us miserable. I know I hate taking bumpy roads sometimes because it makes me sick of my stomach. So why not go off course? We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes. We have to do things that we're passionate about. We have to learn to be able to get out of that fear of change. But how? How do we do that? There's so many different ways. I can give you a few tips, but there's so many different things that you could try to do. For one, just know that it's normal. It is normal to feel anxious, to have those fears. Knowing that it is normal will allow you to realize it more. And realization is a key factor. Remind yourself of stories of others who have switched paths. A lot of people get so afraid of leaving their jobs because they're afraid that they're not going to find anything else and that they're going to be a failure, even though they're miserable where they're at. Do you really want to live your life miserable? Do you want to, be one that you know that you're close to death, and you think back and wish, just thinking, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I take a chance on myself? Why did I stay and live my life miserable? Why didn't I give myself a chance to be passionate and love what I do, to love life? I don't want to live my life and at the end of my days think back and wonder, why did I not take it myself? Why did I keep myself in a position where I hated my life and I hated what I did? Remind yourself of stories of other people who have been, that took chances and found out that once they made that change, that they was able to achieve their greatness. Maybe there's people that you can find that tell stories that they was afraid to take that chance. Do a little research, find people that maybe you really look up to in a sense, and see their story, and then remind yourself of that whenever you're feeling that way. This can help you to feel more confident in taking that chance. Another thing is focus on what you truly want, what you're truly passionate about. Focus on the positive things that could come, instead of saying, what if I do this and I fail? Think, what if I do this and I succeed? Instead of, what if I do this and I lost something I'm good at? Think, what if I do this and I left behind the pain, the misery, and I found what I truly love? And now I get to do something I'm passionate about and be passionate every single day. Think of the what ifs only in a positive sense. Don't focus on the negative things that can happen, but focus on those positives. If you're truly miserable, find what you're passionate about. A lot of times people kind of make comments that, and I was guilty of this. I didn't want to walk away from the computer business because I didn't want to be a quitter. And as I've gotten older and wiser, that's why I've got the wisdom hairs. They're not gray hair, they're wisdom hairs. As I've gotten wiser, I've realized that even in those moments that I changed, as long as I gave it my all and just found out that it wasn't something I was passionate about, it wasn't what I loved. It wasn't failure. It wasn't that I was quitting in a sense. It wasn't a failure. It was more so that it was a learning experience. It was an opportunity for me to grow. I was able to check something off that I did, that I accomplished. It wasn't for me, so I moved on to something I'm passionate about. It was a stepping stone, so to speak, on my journey to live my most epic life. The epic life that you're destined for. Give me just a moment. Talk so much, sometimes your throat gets a little dry on you. All right, so I'm going to leave you with this. We have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Find ways to embrace those uncomfortable feelings. For me, being on video was a huge thing that used to make me uncomfortable. Now I'm pretty comfortable with it. But I forced myself to get comfortable being uncomfortable, to get in front of the camera more often, and even push myself to get in front of the camera in very awkward situations. Like a few years back, whenever I went and applied for a TV show, even though being in big crowds, talking to people I didn't know, being in front of video cameras, things that I was going to have to, all three things that I was going to have to do there, scared me to death. I went and applied and went to a live casting because I wanted to push myself to be uncomfortable. And that was the most extreme thing that I could think of at that time. And it's amazing to think about how much that scared me, but I continued to do it. And I really now see the power of getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I really do. Because I can get in front of the camera now. I can talk to people in crowds. I can stand up in front of crowds and talk to people. I don't have to know who the people are. It's just a huge change. And it really proved to me how vitally important it is to get comfortable being uncomfortable in life. Remember, the magic happens once you're outside your comfort zone. Once you start getting comfortable being uncomfortable, you will regain such a sense of power, and you'll know more so what you're capable of. Don't be afraid to change your course, to go a different path, to take a detour. If you're driving on the highway and they're working on the road ahead and there's a detour, you're going down and all of a sudden on the road and it's so bumpy that you feel like it's going to bust your tires because of all the potholes. And there's a chance for a road off to the side that goes around that's much smoother. Are you going to take it? If you're miserable where you're at and there's an opportunity for maybe you to change careers or to do something that you love and that you're passionate about, are you going to take it? This has been Timothy Phelps for Epic Talk and Phelps Can Help. I hope y'all have a blessed day. Until next Monday.
Believes that everyone has obstacles in which they must overcome in life. He believes that everyone needs someone in their corner. With God and massive ambition, Phelps knows that anyone can overcome the odds. So if you're looking to elevate yourself, Phelps can help.